So, Jonathan, it seems more natural to integrate makerspaces and innovation centers with STEM type courses, but I'm sure it could be integrated with all kinds of courses. Can you tell us how it would work with things outside of STEM?
Yeah, definitely. And when I first stepped into this type of role, it was interesting because a lot of what felt like the low-hanging fruit were STEM classes, getting science classes and math classes into the Innovation Center felt very natural and easy to build out projects. But my real goal was to have faculty understand that this space is not just a science or math STEM space. This space is available to everyone. And one of the ways that I was able to sort of reach out to English classes, language classes, history classes was by having this mindset of let's let the kids tell us a narrative by creating something. So I think uh, one of the projects, one of the examples that kind of first comes to mind is I was working with an advanced Spanish class. So these kids were juniors and seniors, and they were reading a bunch of short stories, Argentinian and Peruvian short stories, a few of which I had actually read myself because I was interested in that genre of literature. Um, and I said to their teacher, like, okay, you want to get the kids in here doing something, building something. Why don't we have them create an original narrative based on the short stories that they're reading, all in the language, and then their presentation will be with something that they make here. And they'll tell the story through the creation of something here. So one group of kids laser cut and built a stage, like a stage theater production, and they 3D printed all of their pieces, and they told the story through like a puppetry theater production that they made. It was really awesome. Another group um, laser cut and wired up a house with an Arduino, and told a story about a little girl who got was in a haunted house. It was really a crazy story, but it was great. And the kids really, really enjoyed it. And they at the end of it, they were like, "Can you work on another project with us? Like, can you tell our teacher to come back in here?" And like it's super meaningful to hear kids saying stuff like that. Other examples are I worked with a different language class on creating an immersive virtual reality portfolio of all the things that they were learning along the way this year. So they keep adding on to that portfolio in VR, and they're getting some programming skills in world language, which is amazing. Um, a French class, ninth grade French class, was learning about things around the home. So for that group, we had them actually build out full scale model homes. And then they presented them in French and talked about all the design decisions they make, all the different parts of the home. We invited everyone who was in our professional community who spoke French to actually come in and ask the kids questions. And it was really, really amazing. I've also done some work with history classes where when they were learning about the electoral process, they built out an augmented reality space that showcased all the different parts of the election. And you were able to like interact with these augmented reality maps that they created. And I guess the last example would be I just finished working with an eighth grade English class. They just read Frankenstein, which I love, one of my favorites. And we highlighted how in the novel, the female characters are there's no depth to them. They're only used as plot devices to kind of drive the narrative, drive the story. So pairs of students wrote out original works of fiction for different female characters in the book, and then 3D modeled different artifacts from the characters' lives and made an augmented reality space that you can interact with to actually have the kids tell you the story. So we're able to kind of bring in some comp sci and 3D modeling into English classes. So I really like the idea of tell me a story, I like to call it. And it feels like it works really well with our humanities classes, our language classes, and sort of non-STEM classes.
Fantastic. You were talking about that, about the 3D model building the small stage set. It
Yeah.
made me realize, wow, a love of literature can lead to being a literature professor. That certainly is one route, but there's a love of literature could lead to wanting to work in the theater and build scenery
Mhm.
and be part of movie crews, or set up schools to have plays come in, whatever it is, a physical it doesn't have to lead to simply, or not simply, just a path of teaching. It could lead
Mhm,
to so many other avenues. A love of literature could be expressed through the hands in a lot of ways.
mhm.
Because there's a lot of people, it takes a lot of people to make a movie or put on a play or things like that. So I just love listening to what you're saying. It's fantastic.